Vedanta Shivasadi Gauranga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Okay, that's where we are. Database.io is somehow not opening in any browser. So I just use database itself. 3. By further development of the Dasya stage, a respectful fraternity with the Lord develops. And above that, a feeling of friendship on equal terms becomes manifest. Both these stages are called the Sakhya stage, or devotional service and friendship. Above this is the stage of parental affection toward the Lord, and this is called the Vatsalya stage. And above this is the stage of conjugal love, and this stage is called the highest stage of love of God, although there is no difference in quality. In any of the above stages. The last stage, conjugal love of God, is called the Madhurya stage. So we should remember that each one, as defined by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, contains the earlier one. It is that kind of Prema Bhakti Rasa that is being discussed here. Thus he instructed Rupa Goswami in devotional service and deputed him to Vrindavan to excavate the lost sites of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord. After this, the Lord returned to Varanasi and delivered the sannyasis and instructed the elder brother of Rupa Goswami. We have already discussed this. The Lord left only 8 shlokas of his instructions in writing, and they are known as the Shikshashtaka. All other literatures of his divine cult were extensively written by the Lord's principal followers, the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, and their followers. The cult of Chaitanya philosophy is richer than any other. That means the teachings and the culture of Lord Chaitanya. And it is admitted to be the living religion of the day with the potency for spreading as Vishwadharma, or universal religion. We are glad that the matter has been taken up by some enthusiastic sages like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj and his disciples. We shall eagerly wait for the happy days of Bhagavata Dharma, or Prema Dharma, inaugurated by the Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The 8 shlokas completed by the Lord are: 1. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. 2. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to all living beings. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by chanting your holy name. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. 3. Don't you chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. 4. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. Najanam, najanam, nasundarim, kavitam va. Kavitam means scholarship, according to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. It also, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has explained this wealth, na dhanam, na janam, these two as products of karma, pious activities. Sundarim Kavitam he has taken it together to mean excellent scholarship, beautiful scholarship, which is useful for attaining the result of jnana, liberation. So when Lord Chaitanya says, I don't want this, I don't want this, it means um, I don't want kama, artha, dharma, and moksha also. Not impersonal liberation. And mama janmani indicates that it does not want personal liberation also. I only want your causeless devotional service in my life, birth after birth. Causeless devotional service means unmotivated devotional service. Ahetuki. Uh, Nothing other than the pleasure of Lord Krishna. 5. O son of Maharaj Nanda, Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms of your lotus feet. 6. O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. 8. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and I shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly in his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He's completely free to do anything and everything, for he's always my worshipable Lord unconditionally. So Prabhupada's introduction ends with that, and we will begin with chapter 1, questions by the sages. Here I will bring in the commentaries of the Acharyas also. Text 1. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadhyasya Yatonmayaditarataschatheshvavidyaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adikaviye Mukhyanti Yatsuraya Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatratrisargom Visha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirstatu Sakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. O my Lord, Shri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead. Vasudeva has two meanings. One meaning is son of Vasudeva, and the other meaning is all-pervading one. Bhagavate means O personality of Godhead. Om itself means O my Lord. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Namaha. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because he is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and he is independent because there is no other cause beyond him. It is he only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. Like him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free from the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. Just a minute, 1 minute. Let me place. Why is this showing like this? Some problem here. I'm not able to see this. What is this? Everything froze. Just a minute, something froze. Why? Why did it freeze? Why is everything so slow? A little bit bigger font. Reduce the font size. Okay, question?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhuji, in the translation, this water seen on fire and land seen on water, I could not understand that. Where is this? Like
This fire refers to a mirage. This water seen on fire, it refers to a mirage in a desert. Sometimes you have the appearance of water. So this is the water seen in fire.
And land seen on water.
Through reflections in the water. Possible. Just wait, we'll come across Sridhar Swami's explanation. It may shed some light.
Okay.
I'll try to explain Sridhar Swami as much as possible. Om Namah Paramahamsa Swaditra Charana Kamalachin Makarandaya Bhaktajana Manasa Nivasaya Sri Ramachandraya. Om obeisances unto Sri Ramachandra, who resides in the lakes of the hearts of his devotees. He is the spiritual honey from he is a spiritual honey that is relished, whose lotus feet is relished by the Paramahamsas. Vagishayasya vadane Lakshmiryasya chavakshasi yasyaste hridaya samvittam nrisimhamaham bhaje. Lord Chaitanya recited this when he went to a Nrsimha temple. It appears in Chaitanya Charitamrita also. I serve Lord Nrsimha, in whose mouth is the goddess of speech, in whose heart is Lakshmi Devi, on whose chest is Lakshmi Devi, and in whose heart is Samvit. Vishwasarga Visargali Navalakshana Lakshitam Shri Krishnakhyam Param Dhama Jagadhama Namama. We offer our obeisances unto the shelter of the entire universe, who is the supreme shelter, known as Shri Krishna, who is characterized by 9 characteristics, beginning with creation, secondary manifestation of the universe, and so on. Madhavo Madhava Visho Sarvasiddhi Vidhayino Vande Parasparatmano Parasparan Nuti Priyav. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Madhava and Umadhava. Madhava is husband of the goddess of fortune, and Umadhava is the husband of Parvati, Uma. The two lords who grant all kinds of perfections, who are the life and soul of each other, and who are very fond of offering obeisances to each other. Sampradaya anurodhena paurvaparyanusaratah Sri Bhagavata Bhavartha Deepikeyam Pratanyate. I present this illumination on the intended meanings of Sri Bhagavatam in line with the teachings of the Bhagavata Sampradaya and in due consideration of what proceeds before and what proceeds later. In other words, it's contextually matching. Paham mandamatih kvedam manthanam shiravaridhe kim tatra pramanurvai yatra majjati mandaraha. Where am I, a person of dull intelligence? And where is this churning of the milk ocean? What is an atom in that place where the Mandara mountain itself is sinking? Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langhayate girim yatkripatamaha vande paramananda madhavam. I offer my obeisances unto the blissful, supremely blissful Madhava, by whose mercy a dumb person becomes talkative and a lame person can cross a mountain. Sri Bhagavata Vidasuratarus Tarankuras Sajjani Skande Dvadashavis Tatah Pravilasad Bhaktyala Valodaya Dvatrimshatrishatam Yasya Vilasat Chaka Sahasranyalam Arnanyashtad Dasheshtad Sulabho Varvarti Sarvopari. There is the celestial tree known as Sri Bhagavatam. It has the pranava as its seed. It grows because of the saints. It shines with 12 trunks, and it has 335 brilliant branches and thousands and 18,000 leaves. Very easily, it is very easy to attain, and it shines above everything else. Okay, this portion I will not read out. I'll simply just present the gist of it. Sri Vyasadeva, he could not attain peace of mind even after composing various Puranas and various scriptures and treatises and being dissatisfied. And when he was dissatisfied, Narada Muni instructed him to present the Bhagavata Shastra, which is predominantly continuously presenting a description of the spiritual attributes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, Vedavyasa, desiring to begin this literature, he invokes auspiciousness by constant remembrance of his supreme deity, who is the subject matter of this literature, in order to ensure that there are no obstacles in his writing and so on. Janmadhyasya. I meditate on the Supreme Lord. Dhimahi is a Vedic form. It means we meditate, plural, not singular. Plural because he includes his disciples. And he then indicates that absolute truth by talking about that absolute truth's intrinsic characteristics and marginal characteristics. The intrinsic characteristic is Satyam, Param. Satyam itself is the intrinsic characteristic. What is the reason for him being that Satya? because the three modes of Maya, Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, they are in that Supreme Brahman. The creation of this world comprised of these three gunas in the form of the elements, the senses, and their deities is true. Even though this world is false, because he is true, it appears to be true. He is that Param Satyam. And that's an example. The example is here. The illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Tejo varim mridam yatha vinimaya yatra sargaha. That there is the action and reaction of fire, water, and earth. This action and reaction or interaction refers to the perception of one as the other. Just as in fire, one has the perception of water. This is very well known in the water of a desert, mirage. On land, such as not on land actually, on solid objects. Earth refers to solids, such as pieces of glass. They can be easily mistaken for water. And water can be easily mistaken as pieces of glass. So this can be easily inferred. So because the Supreme Personality of Godhead is permanent, he is present in this world, and this world also appears to be permanent. This also indicates that because he is ultimately the one who is truth, everything apart from him in this world is mithya, is false. It is not actual truth. Vastutaha. We will come to this concept of vastu in the next verse. But that supreme absolute truth is not connected to any of the upadhis. Upadhi refers to we refer to upadhi generally as a designation, but it refers to a particular type of designation. The standard example is this. Let's say you have a white crystal, transparent crystal. Crystals also have different colors, so I'm specifying white crystal. And next to it, you place rose. It's the rose flower. Rose is red in complexion. Now the crystal appears red also. Okay, it's just next to it. It's not touching it. You did not do something to make the white crystal into a red crystal, but it appears to be red. The redness of the white crystal when you place a rose next to it is called an upadhi. So this is a standard example to help us understand what is this upadhi, material designation. But the Supreme Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is not connected to such an upadhi also. Dhamna svena sada nirastakukakam. Because there is no deceptive appearance characterized by Maya. In him, who is eternally possessed of uh, transcendental laws or the brilliant, pure spiritual nature. So he has always uh, driven away Maya. All of that is his intrinsic nature. His marginal nature, that is described in the first half of the verse. The birth, maintenance, and destruction of this universe happens because of him. We meditate upon him. That is the idea. What is the reason for that? For saying that he is the cause behind the birth, maintenance, and destruction of the universe? Because he is directly the Supreme Lord himself is directly the ingredient cause of earth, water, fire, air, ether, which are his effects. And he is also distinct from all those which are not his effects, like the flower in the sky. The flower in the sky is false. There's no such thing in reality. It's just a combination of words which create a certain concept in the mind. It does not exist in reality. Another explanation, that Supreme Brahman, he is the cause like clay, gold, etc. And the universe, the material world, that is like a pot, like the earring, and so on. यतो वा इवानि भूतानि जायन्ते येन जातानि जीवन्ति यत् प्रयन्त्यभिसंविशन्ति. Statement in Taittiriya Upanishad. From him, all these beings have come about. Because of him, the ones who have come about are living, and into him they all enter. The Smriti also says, Yatas sarvani bhutani bhavantya yugagame yasmimscha pralayam yanti punareva yugakshaye. The absolute truth is the one from whom all the creatures take birth in the beginning of the millennium. And it is him into whom everyone enters at the destruction of the yugas. So then, is Vyasadeva meditating upon Pradhana, primordial matter? Because Pradhana is the cause of the universe and that is known from the scriptures. No, that's not the point. The absolute truth that he is discussing is Abhigya. He is conscious. Because the Shruti says, Sa ikshata lokanu srija. He saw. Sa ikshata actually. So ima lokana srijata. He created these words. The Shruti says this, Maitreya Upanishad. So that means he's conscious. It's a conscious being. Pradhana is not conscious. Ikshate na shabdam iti nyayacha. And the Vedanta Sutra also says that the Supreme Absolute Truth is not Pradhana. Because the Supreme Being actually glanced at matter. Tarhi kim jivo dhyayasya. So is he then meditating on the jiva, the jivatmas? No. Swarat. He shines by himself. He has knowledge by himself. Not like the jivas. The jivas, they are dependent on the Supreme Lord for their knowledge. So then, is he meditating on Brahma? Because the Shruti also says, Hiranyagarbha samavartatagre bhutasya jata Patireka Asit. Hiranyagarbha in the beginning, as the master of all the creatures, he existed. No, he is not having Lord Brahma in his mind, because he is the one who revealed Shabda Brahma to even Lord Brahma, the original scholar. Shvetashvatar Upanishad. Yo Brahmanam vidhati purvam yo vai vedamsya prahinoti tasman. Tam hadevam atma buddhi prakasham mukshur vai sharanamaham prapadye. Desirous of liberation, I take shelter of that Lord who reveals intelligence pertaining to him. He is the one who had presented to Brahma the Vedas. But then we don't hear of Brahma learning the Vedas like the ritualistic Brahmanas learned the Vedas from anyone else. That is true. Krita, through the heart. Through the heart itself, the Supreme Lord revealed extensively that Vedic knowledge. Janmadhyasya yatonvayad itarataschatesh avidyaswarat tene brahma krida ya adi kavaye. He expanded that Vedic knowledge in his heart directly. He directly inspired the intelligence and the functions of the intelligence of Lord Brahma. So this is a way by which he is revealing the meaning of the Brahma Gayatri mantra. He will say in the second canto, Prachodita, Brahma will say in the second canto, Prachodita yena pura saraswati vitanvatajasya satim smritim hridi swalakshana pradurabhut kilasyatah same rishinam rishabah prasidatam iti. Which means that in the past, actually this is not Brahma, this is not spoken by Brahma, it's spoken by Shukadeva Goswami. In the past, Saraswati or Vedic knowledge was spread by the Supreme Lord in the heart of the unborn Lord Brahma. And then, characterized by themselves, they came out of the face of Lord Brahma, faces of Lord Brahma. May that Supreme Lord, the master of the rishis, be satisfied. Why can't we say that Brahma, he just understood Vedic knowledge by himself? Just as when you sleep and you get up, then you understand things by yourself. So like that, why can't you just say that Brahma understood Vedic knowledge by himself? No, that's not the case. Mukhyanti yat surayaha. That Brahman, that supreme absolute truth, is one about whom even the great souls are bewildered. Therefore, because Brahma's knowledge is also dependent. Only this Parameshwara, the Supreme Lord, he has self-perfect knowledge. He is the cause of the universe. Therefore, he is the truth. And he gives truth to the untruth. So therefore, he is the supreme truth. And he is all-knowing. And because he's all-knowing, he has destroyed all forms of deceptive appearance. Dhimahi indicates that the very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the inaugurating text of the Bhagavatam presents an explanation of the Gayatri Mantra. Gayatri itself is known as Brahma Vidya, spiritual knowledge. So this entire Purana is a spiritual book. It is not just a book on the three modes of material nature. This is stated in Matsya Purana. In this, the focus of this book is the Gayatri. There is extensive description of dharma. The Bhagavata also contains a discussion about the killing of Vritrasura. After writing it down, the one who gives it along with golden lion throne on Praushtapadi Purnamasi. I think this is Bhadra Purnima. That person attains the supreme abode. It has 18,000 verses. This Purana is celebrated as having 18,000 verses. In another Purana, also it is stated that this sacred book has 18,000 verses, and it measures, it has 12 cantos. There is a portion known as Hayagriva Brahma Vidya. In this, also the killing of Vritra is there. It begins with the Gayatri. Padma Purane Ambarisham Prati Gautama Uktihi. In the Padma Purana, Gautama tells Ambarisha, Ambarisha Sukha Proktam Nityam Bhagavatam Shrinu. Here, the Bhagavatam, always hear the Bhagavatam spoken by Shukadeva Goswami. Pathasva Swamukenapi Yadichyasi Bhavakshayam. With your own mouth, recite it if you desire destruction of your material existence. Ateva Bhagavatam Nama Anyad Ityapi Na Shankaniyam. So there's no need to be apprehensive that the Bhagavatam here refers to some other text. This is all too much. This is Jiva Goswami, Vishnu Chakravarti is too much. I'm just going to stick to this. That's it. No time. We don't have time for it. I think that's what I'm going to do. We'll just stick to Sridhar Swami and gives us sufficient time. Otherwise, there's no time. I think Jiva Goswami has to be studied separately. Jiva Goswami, Vishnu Chakravarti. Simply not time. Something. What did it come like this? That's wrong. I have to stop the share. What time is it? Just a minute. And then I'll reshare. Where is Sridhar Swami? Didn't open. Okay, I'll come back to Prabhupada. Prabhupada is deriving content primarily from Jiva Goswami and Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur. So you're not losing anything actually. This also. Good. Prabhupada. Obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, directly indicate Lord Sri Krishna, who is the divine son of Vasudeva and Devaki. This fact will be more explicitly explained later in the text of this work, when Sri Vyasadeva directly asserts that Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, and all others are his direct or indirect primary portions or portions of the portion. Srila Jiva Goswami has even more explicitly explained the subject matter in his Krishna Sandarbha. And Brahma, the original living being, has explained the subject of Sri Krishna substantially in his treatise named Brahma Samhita. In an Upanishad in the Samaveda, it is also stated that Lord Sri Krishna is a divine son of Devaki. There is something wrong with my setup again. It is simply a misery. Therefore, in this prayer, the first proposition holds that Lord Sri Krishna is the primeval Lord. And if any transcendental nomenclature is to be understood as belonging to the absolute personality of Godhead, it must be the name indicated by the word Krishna, which means the all-attractive. In the Bhagavad Gita, in many places, the Lord asserts himself to be the original personality of Godhead. And this is confirmed by Arjuna, who also cites great sages like Narada, Vyasa, and many others in the Padma Purana. In the Padma Purana, it is also stated that out of the innumerable names of the Lord, the name Krishna is the principal one. Although the name Vasudeva indicates the plenary portion of the personality of Godhead, and all the different forms of the Lord being identical with Vasudeva, thus indicated in this text, the name Vasudeva particularly indicates Krishna, the divine son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Sri Krishna is always meditated upon by the Paramahamsas, who are the perfected ones among those in the renounced order of life. Vasudeva, or Lord Sri Krishna, is the cause of all causes. Everything that exists emanates from the Lord. How this is so is explained in later chapters of this work. This work is described by Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya as a spotless Purana because it contains the transcendental narration of the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. The history of the Bhagavatam is also very glorious. It was compiled by Sri Vyasadeva after he had attained maturity in transcendental knowledge. He wrote this under the instructions of Sri Naradaji, his spiritual master. Vyasadeva compiled all Vedic literatures containing the 4 divisions of the Vedas, the Vedanta Sutras or the Brahma Sutras, the Puranas, the Mahabharata, and so on. But nevertheless, he was not satisfied. His dissatisfaction was observed by his spiritual master. And thus, Narada advised him to write on the transcendental activities of Lord Sri Krishna. These transcendental activities are described specifically in the Bhagavatam's 10th canto, which is considered its substance. But in order to reach the very substance, one must proceed gradually by developing knowledge of the categories. It is natural that a philosophical mind wants to know about the origin of the creation. 1 minute. At night, he sees the stars in the sky and he naturally speculates about their inhabitant. Such inquiries are natural for man because man has a developed consciousness which is higher than that of the animals. The author of Srimad Bhagavatam gives a direct answer to such inquiries. He says that the Lord Sri Krishna is the origin of all creations. He is not only the creator of the universe, but the destroyer as well. The manifested cosmic nature is created at a certain period by the will of the Lord. It is maintained for some time, and then it is annihilated by his will. Therefore, the supreme will is behind all cosmic activities. Of course, there are atheists of various categories who do not believe in a creator, but that is due to a poor fund of knowledge. The modern scientist, for example, has created space satellites, and by some arrangement or other, these satellites are thrown into outer space to fly for some time at the control of the scientist who is far away. Similarly, all the universes with innumerable stars and planets are controlled by the intelligence of the personality of Godhead. in the Vedic literatures, it is said that the absolute truth, personality of Godhead, is the chief amongst all living personalities. All living beings, beginning from the first created being Brahma down to the smallest ant, are individual living beings. And above Brahma, there are even other living beings with individual capacities, and the personality of Godhead is also a similar living being. And he is an individual, as are the other living beings. But the Supreme Lord, or the Supreme Living Being, has the greatest intelligence, and he possesses most inconceivable energies of all different varieties. If a man's brain can produce a space satellite, one can very easily imagine how brains higher than man can produce similarly wonderful things which are far superior. The reasonable person will easily accept this argument, but there are stubborn atheists who would never agree. Srila Vyasadeva, however, at once accepts the supreme intelligence as Parameshwara. He offers his respectful obeisances unto the supreme intelligence, addressed as the Para, or the Parameshwara, or the supreme personality of Godhead. And that Parameshwara is Sri Krishna, as admitted in the Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures delivered by Sri Vyasadeva, and specifically in this Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, now there are those who advocate that Sridhar Swami was actually an impersonalist. Now, Srila Jiva Goswami points out that we saw in the commentary by Sridhar Swami, he has translated the word Param, Satyam Param Dhimahi, Param, as Parameshwaram. That Para refers to Parameshwara. So from that we understand that the absolute truth who is meant to be meditated upon and who is indicated in the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam is not some impersonal being, but is actually the Supreme Lord. There is one Supreme Being, personality, one Supreme Person. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that there is no other Paratattva, Samam Bonam, than himself. Mattah Parataram Nanyad Kinchidasti Dhananjaya. Therefore, Sri Vyasadeva at once worships the Paratattva, Sri Krishna, whose transcendental activities are described in the 10th canto. Unscrupulous persons, that means people who don't study carefully, go immediately to the 10th canto and specifically to the 5 chapters which describe the Lord's rasa dance. This portion of the Srimad Bhagavatam is the most confidential part of this great literature. Unless one is thoroughly accomplished in the transcendental knowledge of the Lord, one is sure to misunderstand the Lord's worshipable transcendental pastimes called rasa dance and his loving affairs with the gopis. This subject matter is highly spiritual, and only the liberated persons who have gradually attained the stage of Paramahamsa can transcendently relish this rasa dance. Srila Vyasadeva therefore gives the reader the chance to gradually develop spiritual realization before actually relishing the essence of the pastimes of the Lord. Therefore, he purposely invokes a Gayatri mantra, Dhimahi. This Gayatri mantra is meant for spiritually advanced people. So the indication is Bhagavatam itself is meant for those who are spiritually advanced. When one is successful in chanting Gayatri mantra, he can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord. One must therefore acquire Brahmanical qualities or be perfectly situated in the quality of goodness in order to chant the Gayatri mantra successfully, and then attain to the stage of transcendently realizing the Lord, his name, his fame, his qualities, and so on. Srimad Bhagavatam is a narration of the Swarupa of the Lord manifested by his internal potency, and this potency is distinguished from the external potency which has manifested the cosmic world, which is within our experience. Srila Vyasadeva makes a clear distinction between the two in this shloka. Sri Vyasadeva says here that the manifested internal potency is real, whereas the external manifested energy in the form of material existence is only temporary and illusory, like the mirage in the desert. So it is not Vastava Satya. It is not a Satya Vastu, nor is it a Satya Vastava. I will explain this when we come to the next verse. Okay, there's a question here.
So it is written that unless one is transcendentally, unless one is thoroughly accomplished in the transcendental knowledge of the Lord.
Are you referring to this? Are you referring to this sentence?
Yeah, one is sure to misunderstand Lord's worshipable transcendental pastimes. Ras dance. Yeah,
Okay.
Prabhu, first. So what does thoroughly accomplished means here? Realized.
Yeah. Accomplishments is realized. Unless we come to that stage of Vairagya, Vidya, Bhakti, and so on. Like Ramananda Rai, even when he touched young, beautiful girls, he experienced no lust. His body experienced no lust.
And one more question was there, like Srila Prabhupada saying, when one is successful in chanting Gayatri Mantra, so
He can enter into the transcendental position of the Lord.
how to know that one has become successful in chanting? Like,
when we come to the mode of goodness, we know it is a success.
So by chanting Gayatri, it helps in getting in mode of goodness.
It will push us up. It will push us towards Shuddha Sattva. That's all.
That can be achieved by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra.
That's okay. Gayatri Mantra also will help. Hare Krishna Mantra is higher than that.
So this is just like additional support, we can say.
The process of chanting is this. We avoid the 10 offenses. We avoid inattention. So when you sit in one place, you're supposed to ensure that either you look at the deity form of the Lord, or you close your eyes and meditate on the meaning of the mantra. And you also ensure that you don't hear unnecessary things. Like this, one is supposed to chant 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds, 4 rounds, then increase in multiples of 4 up to 64, then increase in multiples of 64 up to 192 rounds, then chant constantly. After that, one attains Nishtha. Then he proceeds further. This is the process of chanting. Now, if just by hearing this, we get a heart attack, then we need to do so many other things along with the process of chanting, which is what Prabhupada has given us. It's given us a very interesting daily life with many things to do. So that includes deity worship, which will naturally include chanting of the Gayatri mantras, which will include chanting of the Brahma Gayatri mantra. So we require everything. And everything means everything other than this should be executed properly so that the desired result is attained. Okay, let's proceed. Srimad Bhagavatam is a narration of the Swarupa of the Lord manifested by his internal potency. This potency is distinguished from the external potency, which is manifested the cosmic world, which is within our experience. Srila Vyasadeva makes a clear distinction between the two in this shloka. Vyasadeva says herein that the manifested internal potency is real, whereas the external manifested energy in the form of material existence is only temporary and illusory, like the mirage in the desert. In the desert, mirage, there is no actual water. There is only the appearance of water. Real water is somewhere else. The manifested cosmic creation appears as reality, but reality of which this is but a shadow is in the spiritual world. Absolute truth is in the spiritual sky, not in the material sky. In the material sky, everything is relative truth. That is to say, one truth depends on something else. This cosmic creation results from interaction of the 3 modes of nature, and the temporary manifestations are so created as to present an illusion of reality to the bewildered mind of the conditioned soul, who appears in so many species of life, including the higher demigods like Brahma, Indra, Chandra, and so on. In actuality, there is no reality in the manifested world. There appears to be reality, however, because of the true reality which exists in the spiritual world, where the personality of Godhead eternally exists with its transcendental paraphernalia. The chief engineer of a complicated construction does not personally take part in the construction, but he knows every nook and corner because everything is done under his direction. He knows everything about the construction, both directly and indirectly. Similarly, the personality of Godhead, who is the supreme engineer of this cosmic creation, knows every nook and corner, although affairs are apparently being carried out by demigods. Beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, no one is independent in the nature of material creation. The hand of the Lord is seen everywhere. All material elements, as well as all spiritual sparks, emanate from him only. And whatever is created in this material world is but the interaction of two energies, the material and the spiritual, which emanate from the absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. A chemist can manufacture water in their chemical laboratory by mixing hydrogen and oxygen. But in reality, the living entity works in the laboratory under the direction of the Supreme Lord. The materials with which he works are also supplied by the Lord. The Lord knows everything directly and indirectly. He's cognizant. Cognizant means aware of all minute details and is fully independent. He is compared to a mine of gold, and the cosmic creations in so many different forms are compared to objects made from the gold, such as gold rings, necklaces, and so on. The gold ring and the gold necklace are qualitatively one with the gold in the mine, but quantitatively the gold in the mine is different. Therefore, the absolute truth is simultaneously one and different. Nothing is absolutely equal with the absolute truth, but at the same time, nothing is independent of the absolute truth. Conditioned souls beginning from Brahma, who engineers the entire universe, down to the insignificant ant, are all creating, but none of them are independent of the Supreme Lord. The materialist wrongly thinks that there is no creator other than his own self. This is called Maya, or illusion. Because of his poor fund of knowledge, the materialist cannot see beyond the purview of his imperfect senses, and thus he thinks that matter automatically takes its own shape without the aid of a superior intelligence. This is refuted in the shloka by Srila Vyasadeva. Since the complete whole or the absolute truth is the source of everything, nothing can be independent of the body of the absolute truth. Abhigya. Prabhupada is explaining Abhigya. How is it that he has all-pervading knowledge? Whatever happens to the body quickly becomes known to the embodied. Similarly, the creation is the body of the absolute whole. He is the super soul of the material existence, and therefore material existence is considered to be the body of that Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Absolute knows everything directly and indirectly that happens in the creation. In the Shruti Mantra, it is also stated that the Absolute Whole or Brahman is the ultimate source of everything. Everything emanates from him and everything is maintained by him. And at the end, everything enters into him. That is the law of nature. In the Smriti Mantra, the same is confirmed. This is all paraphrasing Sridhar Swami. It is said that the source from which everything emanates at the beginning of Brahma's millennium and the reservoir to which everything ultimately enters is the absolute truth or Brahman. Material scientists take it for granted that the ultimate source of the planetary system is the sun, but they are unable to explain the source of the sun. Herein, the ultimate source is explained. According to the Vedic literature, Brahma is the creator of this universe. Yet he had to meditate to get inspiration for such creation. Therefore, neither Brahma nor the sun is the ultimate creator. It is stated in the shloka that Brahma was taught Vedic knowledge by the personality of Godhead. One may argue that Brahma, being the original living being, could not be inspired because there was no other being living at that time. Herein it is stated that the Supreme Lord inspired the secondary creator, Brahma, in order that Brahma could carry out his creative functions. So the supreme intelligence behind all creations is the absolute Godhead, Sri Krishna. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Sri Krishna states that it is he only who superintends the creative energy, Prakriti, which constitutes the totality of matter. Therefore, Sri Vyasadeva does not worship Brahma, but the Supreme Lord who guides Brahma in his creative activities. In this shloka, the particular words Abhigya and Swarat are significant. These two words distinguish the Supreme Lord from all the other living entities. No other living entity is either Abhigya or Swarat. That is, no one is either fully cognizant or fully independent. Even Brahma has to meditate upon the Supreme Lord in order to create. Then what to speak of great scientists like Einstein? The brains of such a scientist are certainly not the products of any human being. Scientists cannot manufacture such a brain. And what to speak of foolish atheists who defy the authority of the Lord? Even Mayavadi impersonalists so flatter themselves that they can become one with the Lord are neither Abhigya nor Swarat. Such impersonalists undergo severe austerities to acquire knowledge to become one with the Lord. And ultimately, they become dependent on some rich disciple who supplies them with money to build monasteries and temples. Atheists like Ravana or Hiranyakashipu had to undergo severe penances before they could flout the authority of the Lord. But ultimately, they were rendered helpless and could not save themselves when the Lord appeared before them as cruel death. This is also the case with the modern atheists who also dare to flout the authority of the Lord. Such atheists will be dealt with similarly, or history repeats itself. Whenever men neglect the authority of the Lord, nature and her laws are there to penalize them. This is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita in the well-known verse, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanihi. Whenever there is a decline of dharma and a rise of adharma, Arjuna, then I incarnate myself. So the idea is that everybody else is not swara, which means they have to undergo great difficulty in order to attain any degree of material opulence. But the Supreme Lord does not have that feature. He is independent by himself. He's not dependent on someone else's happiness for him to function as the Supreme Lord. That the Supreme Lord is all perfect is confirmed in all Shruti mantras. Again, he's paraphrasing Sridhar Swami. It is said in the Shruti mantras that the all-perfect Lord threw a glance over matter and thus created all living beings. The living beings are parts and parcels of the Lord, and he impregnates the vast material creation with seeds of spiritual sparks, and thus the creative energies are set in motion to enact so many wonderful creations. An atheist may argue that God is no more expert than a watchmaker. But of course, God is greater because he can create machines in duplicate male and female forms. The male and female forms of different types of machineries go on producing innumerable similar machineries without God's further attention. If a man could manufacture such a set of machines that could produce other machines without his attention, then he could approach the intelligence of God. But that is not possible, for each machine has to be handled individually. Therefore, no one can create as well as God. Another name for God is Asamordhva, which means that no one is equal to or greater than him. Param Satyam, or the supreme truth, is he who has no equal or superior. This is confirmed in the Shruti mantras. It is said that before the creation of the material universe, there existed the Lord only, who is master of everyone. That Lord instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge. That Lord has to be obeyed in all respects. Anyone who wants to get rid of the material entanglement must surrender unto him. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Unless one surrenders unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, it is certain that he will be bewildered. When an intelligent man surrenders unto the lotus feet of Krishna and knows completely that Krishna is the cause of all causes, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, then only can such an intelligent man become a Mahatma or great soul. But such a great soul is rarely seen. Only the Mahatmas can understand that the Supreme Lord is the primeval cause of all creations. He is Parama, or ultimate truth, because all other truths are relative to him. He is omniscient. For him, there is no illusion. Hamna Svena Sata Nirastaku Kam. Some Mayavadi scholars argue that Srimad Bhagavatam was not compiled by Sri Vyasadeva. Some of them suggest that this book is a modern creation written by someone named Vopadev. In order to refute such meaningless arguments, Sri Sridhar Swami points out that there is reference to the Bhagavatam in many of the oldest Puranas. The first sloka of the Bhagavatam begins with the Gayatri mantra. There is reference to this in the Matsya Purana, which is the oldest Purana. In that Purana, it is said about the Bhagavatam that in it, there are many narrations of spiritual instructions, that it begins with the Gayatri mantra, and that it contains the history of Vritrasura. Yes.
Prabhuji, how to understand oldest Puran? Like someone may say that all the Puranas are written by Vyasadeva at one time. So how come one is oldest and one is?
Where does it say that he wrote all the Puranas at the same time? He wrote all the Puranas. But where does it say that he wrote all the Puranas at the same time?
Then how come he did not get satisfaction until unless he returned Srimad Bhagavatam?
Because the Bhagavatam was the last Purana he wrote.
So how much time he took to come to this place?
It comes. Madhvacharya deals with all this. It comes somewhere. I think he first presented the edition for Brahmaloka. Then he presented abridged versions for higher celestial beings. And then finally produced a 4 lakh version for human beings. We have the human edition of the Puranas. They live longer, they're more intelligent, so they have larger editions. Anyone who makes a gift of this great work on a full moon day attains to the highest perfection of life by returning to Godhead. There is reference to the Bhagavatam and other Puranas also, where it is clearly stated that this work was finished in 12 cantos, which include 18,000 shlokas. So when we say 18,000 shlokas, it actually refers to a standard method of counting. That's a way of counting how long a text is. 32 syllables.
Oh, Prabhu, you're on mute. We cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now? Am I audible? Okay, I forgot what I was saying.
You were telling about the counting of the number of the verses according to the standard system.
Yeah, so this 18,000, you'll find for various literatures, it will say it is this much long, that much long, and so on. This is counted in terms of an anushtup verse. An anushtup verse is technically called a shloka. 32 syllables. That is the unit. That's technically called a grantha. Even now that usage is there. When they say this is this long, this manuscript is this long, they calculate how many granthas it is. There was one scholar in the 1800s who actually sat down and calculated how long the Bhagavatam is. He considered the Uvacha statement to be one grantha. He considered at the end of every chapter there is a colophon. That's thus ends this chapter, we say in English, but in Sanskrit, there's a statement like that. He considered that to be also one grantha. And then he calculated, divided by 32 syllables. And then it comes to 17,997 or something like that. So it is more or less preserved very well, Bhagavatam. So 18,000 shlokas does not actually refer to 18,000 verses as such. The way we understand our BBT texts, text 1, text 2, text 3, it's not 18,000 like that. In the Padma Purana also, that's a reference to the Bhagavatam in conversation between Gautama and Maharaj Ambarish. The king was advised therein to read regularly Srimad Bhagavatam if he desired liberation from material bondage. Under the circumstances, there is no doubt about the authority of the Bhagavatam. Within the past 500 years, many erudite scholars and acharyas like Jiva Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Vallabhacharya, and many other distinguished scholars, even after the time of Lord Chaitanya, made elaborate commentaries on the Bhagavatam. And the serious student would do well to attempt to go through them to better relish the transcendental messages. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur specifically deals with the original and pure sex psychology, Adi Rasa, devoid of all mundane inebriety. Prabhupada uses the word inebriety to refer to defects that intoxicate the conditioned soul. Emphasis. The whole material creation is moving under the principle of sex life. End of emphasis. In modern civilization, sex life is the focal point for all activities. Wherever one turns his face, he sees sex life predominant. Therefore, sex life is not unreal. Of course, sex in the Vedic scriptural sense is what we refer to as romance, passion, and sex. All of that is considered sex. Just like when we talk about eating, a good feast, you have various tastes culminating in sweet. Now we know that in a feast you need to have sweet. But if someone calls you for a feast and only gives you some sweets, that's not a feast also. You need to have everything. It needs to culminate with sweet. Or like in a movie, you have so many different things going on, and finally a climax is built up. So in the Vedic concept of karma, you have romance, you have passion, and you have sex. All of that put together is. So now that is everywhere. Or as the Westerners say, love is in the air. It's everywhere. You look in the advertisements, you look everywhere. Everywhere it's there. Somewhere or other, it is there. Its reality is experienced in the spiritual world. The material sex life is but a perverted reflection of the original fact. The original fact is in the absolute truth, and thus the absolute truth cannot be impersonal. It is not possible to be impersonal and contain pure sex life. Consequently, the impersonal philosophers have given indirect impetus to the abominable mundane sex life because they have overstressed the impersonality of the ultimate truth. Consequently, man, without information of the actual spiritual form of sex, has accepted perverted material sex life as the all in all. There is a distinction between sex life in the diseased material condition and spiritual sex life. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur focuses on this. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's edition of Bhagavatam contains the entirety of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur himself is like a reincarnation of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. What Vishwanath Chakravarti writes, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati implements. Vishwanath Chakravarti says that all that people need to do is to give up adharma, give up karma, jnana, yoga, and only engage in bhakti. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur creates a whole mechanism to actually implement that. He convinces people, you stop sinful activities, you don't get married, you get out of all these things, you stop doing jnana activity, yoga activity, engage in the 64 items of bhakti. Accept it as your duty, accept it as your goal also. That's all. He actually implements it. So from the Bhagavatam, we get to see that. This Srimad Bhagavatam will gradually elevate the unbiased reader to the highest perfection stage of transcendence. It will enable him to transcend the three modes of material activities: fruitive activities, speculative philosophy, and worship of functional deities, as inculcated in Vedic verses. Text 2. Dharma projita kaitavotra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayon mulana Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim va pareir Ishvaras sadyo hridya varudhyatetra kratibish Completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated, this Bhagavata Purana propounds the highest truth, which is understandable by those devotees who are fully pure in heart. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. Such truth uproots the threefold miseries. This beautiful Bhagavata, compiled by the great sage Vyasadeva in his maturity, is sufficient in itself for God realization. What is the need of any other scripture? As soon as one attentively and submissively hears the message of the Bhagavatam, by this culture of knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. Sridhar Swami. This verse is presented to convey a certain point, that Srimad Bhagavatam is better than all the scriptures which deal with karma, jnana, and various forms of worship, including mixed devotion service to Lord Vishnu. In this beautiful Bhagavatam, the supreme dharma has been described. Why is it said to be supreme dharma? Because the deception that is presented to the readers, characterized by a desire for some result, a selfish desire for some result, a selfish desire and pursuit for some result, that feature is not found in the sort of dharma that is taught here. Specifically, the desire for liberation, that is also not there. The dharma that is presented here is exclusively characterized by worship of the Supreme Lord. And it is meant for the nirmatsaras, those who are free from envy, jealousy. Jealousy means you don't tolerate somebody else's exalted status. So it is meant for saints who are free from that jealousy. Saints itself indicates that they have compassion for all the living beings. So thus, it is proven that Srimad Bhagavatam is superior to the scriptures of karma. It is also superior to the scriptures that deal with jnana. Vedyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapatrayonmulanam. Vastavam, Vedyam vastavam. Vastu refers to the substance. And that substance is the Supreme Truth himself. That can be understood here. This is not like the materialistic descriptions of the Vaisheshika philosophers. Another meaning. Vastu is the Supreme Lord. Vastava refers to his portions, his energies, his effects. His portions are the jivas. His energy is maya. His effect is this material world. All of that is the substance. It is not separate from the substance. This can be understood from Bhagavatam. It can be understood means effortlessly it can be understood. So what? What is the benefit of that? Shivatam indicates that this knowledge provides one with supreme happiness. Moreover, additionally, one experiences the uprooting of adhyatmika, adhidaivika, adhibhautika miseries. Mahamuni refers to okay. So this proves that it is superior to the Karmakanda scriptures. It is superior to the Jnanakanda scriptures. It is also superior in terms of the author. Kartritopi Shaishyam. The great sage is Sri Narayana. Narayana Rishi. He is said to be, there is one branch of the Bhagavata Parampara which starts with Narayana Rishi. So the great sage is Sri Narayana. So first of all, and another Sri Narayana is the Supreme Lord himself who taught Brahma, Chatushloki. Anyway, in either case, first of all, he summarized it. So because of the authorship also, Bhagavatam is the best scripture. Then Upasana Kanda or Devata Kanda scriptures. There are scriptures which promote worship of functional deities, all of which include devotional service to Lord Vishnu. So these are all, you can consider this to be mixed devotion service to Bhagavan. This is better than that also, those scriptures also. Kimva Parai. What is the use of other scriptures? What is the use of other sadhanas taught in these scriptures? Ishvara Hridi, Hridya Rudya Thetra. The Supreme Lord, he immediately becomes bound, or which means he becomes fixed in the heart of one who is obedient to Srimad Bhagavatam. Kimva parai, what is the use of other scriptures, other methods, is a sarcastic statement. Kintu vilambena kathanchideva. Sometimes as a delayed process, these other scriptures may be useful. Our screen is not shared. If this kind of thing happens, immediately shout out. Idamaiva tarhi kim? Okay. Atra tu shushushvi shrotram ichhadbireva takshanadeva avarudhyate. So through the other scriptures also one can make spiritual progress, but to some extent, and in the form of a delay. I said delay. So it's not going to get it immediately. But with Bhagavatam, that is not the case. Even if one has a desire to sincerely hear the Srimad Bhagavatam, at that very moment, the Supreme Lord becomes fixed in the heart. Idamaiva tarhi kim iti sarvena shinvanti. Then why don't everyone sincerely hear the Srimad Bhagavatam? Why don't they all hear the Bhagavatam? Kritibhihi. That desire to hear Srimad Bhagavatam does not come about without sufficient pious credits. Punyaihi vina na utpadyate ityartha. Tasmadatra, of course, this punya refers to spiritual punya, the sort of punya, pious credits, which push one towards an increase of bhakti. So, it is pointed out that Srimad Bhagavatam is factually superior to the teachings of Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda also. That means it is superior to the scriptures which promote Gunibhuta Bhakti, Gunibhuta Vishnu Bhakti, and Pradhanibhuta Vishnu Bhakti. Bhagavatam actually presents Kevala Bhakti. Idamaiva sarva shastrevya sreshtham. So for this reason, it is this scripture which is better than, which is superior to all other scriptures. Ataha nityam etadeva shrotavyam iti bhava. So the implication is that one should constantly hear this Srimad Bhagavatam. So I'll stop with this. We'll resume tomorrow. We'll resume in the next class. Okay, the schedule, I have to redo it. We will have assessments at the end of every unit. And I'm thinking that we should have 6 classes in general, 6 classes and then 1 holiday, and then 6 classes, 1 holiday, until we come to an exam. On the exam day, we'll have CBA, OBA, Shloka, everything. Most likely it will be once every 3 weeks or once every 4 weeks. It will come at the end of a unit. After a unit is completed, then we'll do. So I'll reschedule it. Before that, I want to allocate 1 day study holiday. And before the study holiday, I want to allocate 2 days for going through all the CBAs pertaining to that unit. We'll go through it question by question. If required, I can allocate even three sessions. Maybe I'll keep 3 sessions just to ensure that there is sufficient time. We'll go through every question and deal with the answers. I don't want any controversies later on saying that, no, but it says like this, it says like, I don't want all these things. This is what we all understand to be the answers. That's all. Okay. Vanchaikalpatarubhyasya kripasindubhyevacha paritanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.